really long time, and all the faces except for mine and Craig's are new. So I'm going to try to share my screen, and we can read the agenda. I sent it to everyone by email just so that everyone would have it. So now let me just figure out how to do what I want to do. Okay. All right, so I'm going to share. Okay, can y'all see that?
Yes.
Okay, super. So our agenda is very, very brief. Call to order, done. What time did we do that, Daniel? 4:30.
4:36.
Okay, so 4:36. Okay, so I guess we don't really have to approve anything about that. Okay, so the proposed strategy is something that I worked on last year, and then things happened and things didn't happen, and so now we're ready to talk about moving forward. I wish I'd get rid of this thing. Let's see. Okay, so the I made up this little worksheet here, and this is my kind of brainstorming with myself idea. So I'm really hoping that you all can add to it and improve it. So I divided it by the audience. So we've got drivers, we got pedestrians, we've got bicyclists. All right, and then we have the message. So drivers should be driving the speed limit, yielding to bicycles, stopping for pedestrians, just generally watching out. And then there are different media that we can use to reach these people. I mean, signs, there's always signs and billboards, yuck. I don't know if we can get random police pop-ups. We are going to do an open streets event. That's going to be next spring, I believe. We do have social media that we need help with. And then we can do public service announcements and broadcast media advertising. And we have a budget, so we can actually pay for some things. So that's for the drivers. Pedestrians, the message to pedestrians is always assume drivers can't see you. And, we want pedestrians using crosswalks, looking both ways when they cross. Should have learned that already. And to avoid walking in roadways, and also to be visible, because I find, especially at night, people in dark clothing just, they surprise me. They come up out of nowhere. And, that's really frightening. So we had talked about open streets events and then classes. I mean, we could maybe come up with some sort of classes that we could do at elementary schools maybe, or middle schools, maybe even high schools, Facebook, Instagram. We don't have a website yet, do we, Daniel?
We have an ACC website that talks about the commission, but there's not a lot of materials on it.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of room for improvement there. And I know Carly has to go here in just a little bit, probably.
Okay.
Okay. And I might be reading between the lines, but were you wanting to talk? Can we talk about social media specifically?
We can. In fact, if I'm boring you all, I'll just cut this out right now, because, this is something we can look at later on. But we have a budget, so let's just go quickly over the budget. And these are just numbers that Carol and I sort of estimated, and then Lauren and I sort of estimated. But basically, we could spend like $2,000 on advertising, $1,000 on radio ads, $500 on billboards. They have a discount thing, the billboard companies, for nonprofits and things like that. We would need some graphic design and copy. We'd need some interactive and print maps. We need, T-shirts, safety vests. We could even make stickers, and we can get creative with that. But let me unshare this. How do I stop sharing? Does anybody know how I can stop sharing?
What I'll do is I'll just go ahead and share, and
Okay.
and then that will take it away from you.
Yeah,
And
because it's
right now I'm just looking. I'm trying to find the one that I want to share.
okay.
Okay.
Oh, you're sharing. Let's see. Here we are. Okay, so
Yeah,
stop
I
sharing.
gotcha.
All right. So I'm not used to this. I'm sorry for being a little bit technically clumsy.
Oh, it's totally fine.
All right. Now
This
what
is
are
an
you
old
sharing here?
email. This is an email from Hillary to Stephen back in the day. And this is basically a scope for communications.
Okay.
So
Could you email that to everyone, because it's really impossible to read?
yeah. Let me also just bump up the size.
Yeah. Okay, that's getting better.
So you can see there's some things that are like education materials. But something that I thought would be helpful is we could use some of that funding to create a social media like plan. And that could include maybe some of the illustrations that you see in the Athens in Motion plan, or it could include,
Right.
just recommendations on, if there is a state law that gets passed, like in July, then we have some stuff ready for that. And so, and I know there's even like some platforms that allow you to schedule posts like months in advance. And so, rather than having to log in on a weekly basis and put out your post, you could go ahead and just have it scheduled to go out every few days, and you can like plan that in advance.
Okay. So that I mean, stuff like that is really great. And we should be developing materials and messages to do that. One thing I want to ask you, Daniel. Okay, so I see there are lots of numbers, money numbers on here, and that's great. When do we need to have spent our $12,000 budget? That's the most important question.
I believe it is. I'm not sure how much rolls over or what that schedule is, but it is meant for the fiscal year, so June 30th. I believe June 30th.
Okay, well that's great.
Is there a 31st in June? There's not.
Okay, so I was thinking it was December 30th or 31st or whatever,
No.
and I was thinking, how are we going to do that? That's going to be hard.
I would have been putting a lot more pressure on you guys.
Okay, well I kind of thought you might be, but maybe you have some magic up your sleeve. I don't know. All right, so so Daniel, how can we get started with this? I mean, so we read over Hillary's memo, but I mean, I'd really like to come up with some concrete things that we could start doing right now.
Yeah.
Like social media things, and if you know if you have some great ideas about that, I'd love to hear it. If anyone else does, please chime in, because I'm not the greatest social media person in the world.
Yeah.
Do we have access to, I don't know if the Athens-Clarke County government has access to, or they have their own marketing division or anything like that we can utilize, or, I mean, or a consultant, or is it up to us to come up with the message and the verbiage that we're going to send out?
Good question.
We have a public information office, and that is typically like, they are kind of the overarching, any stuff coming from ACC should go through there, and they're definitely a good resource to talk with, but they don't necessarily filter everything for all the commissions. I can get more information on that though.
Yeah, I mean, what I'd be interested to know what role they feel they need to play. Like if they want to be active in developing the message, or if they just want to let us do it and they approve it, or however they want to, you know, do their job.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm forwarding this to you guys right now, so you have it.
Okay, is that Hillary's email?
Thank you. Just one note before I leave. I'm happy to help with things like social media, but I would love to, have, more of these meetings to know what kind of things would be appropriate and good to post. Or,
Right.
if we end up, using the budget to hire out, like Daniel was saying, like create sort of a initial plan and then hiring out I don't know if it would be an agency or just a platform that would put those posts out. But one other note about a way that I personally would love to spend the budget is supporting Bike Athens. I think it would. So, for example, like this East Athens Bike Day that just happened, I think we could have had much bigger turnout if there was an opportunity to provide bikes to local youth. And I don't know, I don't know if this is a way to spend any part of the AIM budget, let alone the communications budget. But I do think it would be really great PR if AIM were to be, like I think you can sort of sponsor a bike for a local youth through Bike Athens. And I think it's only like $250 or something to do that.
I think so I did talk to our attorney's office, and we can't directly buy things for people. It's part of the gratuities clause. But if there were I can check into sponsorship of an event, and then it's up to Bike Athens to spend the money however they deem like
Okay.
fit. I could see if that's a possibility. I know that I think I've seen where commissions can be sponsors in the past, but I just would need to make sure of that.
Yeah. Well, I know that
So,
Bicycles Pocket Bike. Nice. So I know that ORGC was a sponsor of the other bike event that just happened. That was also Firefly related. And the sponsorship just got us, a table and a tent and a couple hours of public facing communication, which we should be doing that kind of stuff too.
Right.
Absolutely.
Definitely should be doing that.
But that was, I think, a $500 level sponsorship of a Firefly event. So I believe that should be allowed. But I wonder about, framing it in a way that would get kids on bikes on, and then get those kids on bikes on trails. That's what I want. That should be the end goal. I do
I think
have
that's
to
a great
run. I'm
idea
sorry,
if we can do it,
yeah. So that's my 2 cents, but please, I'm happy to be part of this committee, so keep me on the list, and I'm sorry that I have to run.
Okay,
But
real quick before you leave, Carly,
yeah.
I'm so glad you brought up Bike Athens, because they make these cute little booklets, the Bicyclist Pocket Guide, and I actually have a handful of them, but maybe Athens in Motion could like sponsor some printing of these books. And they also make a card in Spanish too, which I think is really good. And maybe we could, do a little more with the Spanish language version of this. So
we actually also have a printing budget. I have a lot of those books that were printed and need to distribute them. So yeah, I think we have some materials. I think ultimately, and Carly, if you need to get going, I totally understand.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You
So I think it would be helpful for us to come up with a list of tabling materials.
Yeah.
And then kind of what we were talking about with the social media plan, it could be, I'm honest, I'm not like an expert social media person. even our marketing, PIO, as Blaine was asking about, they wouldn't really be equipped to help us put together a plan. They could tell us what we can and can't do. So we can basically say, hey, what do you think about this? And they'll say, oh, I would avoid these things. So those might be two really good kind of initiatives to work with.
Daniel, is there any way we could like get somebody to just develop some really high level kind of, I'm going to call them posters for lack of a better term, but posters that we could post on social media that would have specific messages for bicyclists, pedestrians, drivers, we need somebody with some skills that I don't have.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that because I'm not quite sure what scope it is within the plan, but I have seen those like marketing materials in the Athens in Motion plan.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Some of them are good and some of them are a little silly, but I mean,
yeah.
the idea is there.
But I mean, like if we just have that and we start with those actual materials, that could be a really good starting point.
Sure.
And that's part of what I mean by the marketing plan is like, it's one thing to have a plan, but if they also create marketing materials for us, if we get a consultant who can do that, then that, and then it's kind of like, let's say it costs $4,000 and maybe for this first year, but maybe year number 2, it goes down to 2,000 and we can kind of have those materials made in advance, schedule them out throughout the year. Because the other part of this is building the followers, which I'll go ahead and throw out. I am terrible at social media. I get on Facebook once every 6 months, and I forget that the rest of my stuff exists. So I am not the one to give advice. But I think I've seen where I've seen successful social media accounts, especially like groups like this where, I mean, even if you just look at the difference between like leisure services followers and TPW's followers, I think you can see a substantial difference on our Facebook pages. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Oh, leisure services by far.
Okay.
Not many people are like, hey, let's go follow Transportation and Public Works Department on social media.
So we need to add a little juice to TPW is what you're saying.
Yeah. And I think and that's the thing is like there's kind of building your follower base and then sustainably like giving them content they want to see so they don't just unsubscribe.
Yeah, we have to keep seeing them. I mean, we have an Instagram, we have a Facebook page. We don't have a Facebook account though. I mean, it's basically a page that I manage, and I don't know if that's like a long-term solution. I mean, what if I get hit by a truck or something?
Right. Yeah, you want to have backup.
So, I mean, is there any way that your office, Daniel, could set up a Facebook page? I mean, is that something y'all can do?
I have to go through in order to do that, I would have to go through the social media training. And I don't have time for that. So, unfortunately not.
Okay.
But I am putting in a request this year for an education specialist.
Okay.
So that would be someone whose full-time job is to, handle this type of stuff. Yeah, and so right here, it looks like we have 500 followers, 512 followers.
On Facebook or on Instagram?
On the Facebook group. So I think that's pretty good.
I'm surprised. I had no idea. I just put stuff out there once in a while, but I don't really, look to see how it's doing. but yeah, I think we should definitely start putting more things out there. You know, I really admire these people who can like share something on one platform and it shows up on 2 other platforms, you know, and it's all really smooth and it looks great. I can't do that. I always have to do a whole lot of crazy gymnastics to get things to show up on both Facebook and Instagram in a way that, you know, doesn't look like somebody dumb did it.
I think there's ways to do that. I talked to Carly before, and if you're interested, I know she's not here to volunteer,
Right.
but I think if we can get the plan set up to where she kind of has guidelines to work within, she seemed okay with being kind of the manager of the social media account.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
Craig and Blaine, do y'all good with that?
I'm sorry, I just had to step away.
Oh, not a problem. I was just asking if y'all are good with Carly being the social media guru.
I'm great with that. If she's good with it, yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Right.
So
we'll just check in with her before we volunteer her. And Craig, we got a thumbs up from you, so thank you for that. All right. So then it's just a matter of like figuring out, you know, what our messages are, and then how to time the output.
yeah, that's pretty easy. There's some platforms. I need to see if there's like free version or if it's like a subscription service, but you can basically connect all of your social media accounts and schedule postings. So that could be a really helpful thing to manage that portion. I think from there, the conversations that we can focus on are what are the things in the next month or 2 that we really want to be bringing to light. And that's where I think it can be helpful to have, you know, maybe not every month, but, you know, every other month, just kind of, you know, all right, here's what I found in the last, you know, few weeks that are coming down the pipeline, you know, whether it's about national like infrastructure or Georgia bike laws or local things opening up, whether it's a trail or bike lanes. I don't know the best way to do that though. Do you guys
Well, I think
have any ideas?
we need to kind of like start with those sort of general concepts, you know, infrastructure. I mean, it sounds like we might actually get some money out of the feds, which would be great. I don't know when that's going to happen. But yeah, Georgia bikes, you know, laws. I mean, there's always safety stuff. Like, I really think people are kind of unaware. And I think that's why we've had so many pedestrian and bicycle crashes. You know, people just are too distracted with everything else that's going on and their technology and their fancy new cars, and just don't even notice those dumb people walking on the sidewalk or crossing the road, you know? So I don't know. I think maybe radio announcements would be kind of good for that. And I mean, we could hit the, you know, obviously WUGA, you know, but we should also go for some of the country stations and like Christian broadcasting, or, you know, things that people listen to who don't necessarily listen to WUGA, you know?
It's always good to have a few different radio stations. I think there's a few that we have partnerships with, but
I think there's a station that a lot of African Americans listen to. We definitely want to get, you know, I mean, that's the most vulnerable community right there, because you know, for some reason there tend to be a lot more of African Americans who get hit by cars and trucks than everybody else, and so we really need to address that.
Yeah, I think there's also some opportunities for PSAs on the buses and stuff
Mm-hmm.
and transit. They have like TVs on the buses now, and you can have a recorded PSA. Um, we've been trying to kind of break into that for some of our public input things. So just, you know, as a if you're sitting on the bus and the TV's on, you're probably gonna watch it.
Right.
There's also, I've noticed recently too, some gas stations have like a little TV at the pump. I don't typically see local stuff on there. They might see the weather on there, but it seems like a little bit more national type news or sports or something like that.
Hmm.
I'm not sure, but that might be an opportunity. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, you're sitting there pumping gas or standing there, you
Hmm.
pay attention to what's on the TV, maybe.
Absolutely.
Is,
And if I
is there
hear
a
Athens, I'll pay attention. But if it's like some random thing about, you know, fuel points and getting a 30-liter soda.
Yeah, I think
what
that's what
about
they intend it for.
Hmm.
what about like the local? Is there a local TV station? I mean, I don't really watch the network TV anymore. I just binge watch stuff on Netflix. So I don't know about the local TV stations. But are there any that we could put a PSA on?
I know there's some UGA stuff.
Okay.
I'm not sure though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the students, that's another group that, we need to be targeting. I mean, we just recently lost another student to a traffic fatality. It shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So,
Is there and this is pardon the ignorance, I'm still new. Is there a bicycle safety month, or is there an overall general month where safety is promoted?
it's a good question.
I'm looking now.
You know what I mean? I mean, I guess that would be.
If they got a month for pizza, I would imagine they have a month for.
I know it too.
Yeah, it is May. May is Bicycle Safety Month.
Okay.
And that's
Yeah,
according to whom? Is that the university or is that somebody else? Or is
it
that
says
the-
May is Bicycle Safety Month, and the U.S. Department of Transportation's National Highway Traffic Safety Administration urges bicyclists and motorists to share our roadways by obeying the traffic laws and respecting each other's rights. So,
Okay.
I believe that is a national U.S. DOT.
Okay, that's super.
There's also some like bike walk counts for safe routes to schools. I think there could be some cool partnerships. You know, we talked with Patty, and so as y'all move forward with, you know, partnering with her on some things, that could be a really great kind of double up. As I know
Mm-hmm.
there's like bike to work, bike or walk to work, I think is an event. It's like a month-long event every year, and it encourages businesses to provide incentives to encourage their employees to bike.
Mm-hmm. Is that like a Georgia DOT thing, or is that another U.S. DOT?
Let me look. So there's the Bike to Work Day, May 20th. But I think it's part of the bike month.
Mm-hmm.
Is UGA still in service in May?
Classes.
Yeah.
They by May 20th, it's usually over. We usually had spring commencement by then. It's usually maybe a week or so before then,
Got it. Okay.
typically.
Yeah, it looks like that's right around. So Bike to Work Week this last year was May 17th to 23rd. I was just wondering if there's a way to like get UGA kind of on board with some partnerships in that. But if that's like right around that commencement date, it may be something that would need to be separate. This is on the League of American Bicyclists, and I think it's a nationwide thing. So there's all sorts of, I mean, honestly, like that could be part of what we pay for, is just like someone to get all this information together and put it into a package so that we can know in advance what things we need to start advertising and talking about. And because, you know, if we're going to be tabling, you know, that's more like what local things are going on. And, you know, when we do those tabling events, what are we going to talk about with the people, you know?
Right.
And it can be the current infrastructure projects we're working on, but it can also be those larger initiatives, I think. 'Cause, and yeah, I mean, even League of American Bicyclists, they have promotional materials. I'm looking right now. Yeah, and it comes with all sorts of, it's like a list of images, and it has bleeds and no bleeds, and there's like hashtags associated with it. And so I think that might be a common thing too, where we don't necessarily have to redesign everything. Like some of it is
No, I
just
wouldn't think so.
joining into these types of yeah, the League of American Bicyclists seems to be a good source for some things. And maybe maybe our homework can be to do some research and find some different sources of this kind of stuff. Because I also think it would be really important, because this is in May, which is great, but I think with UGA, when it comes into session, it would be really helpful to have some kind of start of the school year conversations, programs, materials, you know, because that's 30 or 40,000 people every year, and they cycle through every 4 years.
Yeah, and I can I know within auxiliary services there is a program. I'll dig into a little bit more. Actually, I don't know that much about it. It's called Watch for Dogs. I know they do some bicycling things. They're talking about safety, and I believe they had some involvement in the student orientation. You know, that's when all whatever 5,000 of the new students and their parents are coming through. So it's, you know, we really, in transportation parking, you don't get that many opportunities to talk face to face with students, and certainly not parents. So we really try to capitalize on that orientation period, get information out. So it could be something maybe we could partner in there and you know, get some of that you know, information.
Yeah, I think we should definitely plan to do something for orientation. You know, I think that's a great idea.
The only thing is, it kind of falls right in the middle of that with we're talking about budget. It, you know, it'll go from like June 1st through August, you know, through July 31st, kind of is when the main. But it's usually 4 days a week on campus. There's some form of an orientation or new kids or transfers coming on campus.
Okay. So I guess what we're going to do then is we're going to look at League of American Bicycles, maybe look at the US DOT Bike Safety Month, plan our tabling materials, and you know, then Daniel, if we could find, you know, some consultant or ad agency or something like that, you know, communications firm who could do, you know, a little work for us to help us, you know, package this up. I think that would be a great use of the money.
Yeah, I mean, I think that stuff that Tool Design Group, our on call, could potentially do. I think I mean, they do a lot of that outreach stuff nationwide. So I sent that list out earlier. I'm pulling it up now. And I think with that, that's going to be really helpful. And we can get new prices. I think if y'all can, if you go through and maybe highlight your most important things, it doesn't necessarily have to add up to our total funds, but I think if each of you could highlight what you think is most important, and then from there we can talk about that at our next meeting where we, because I know some of these things are things that I can actually do that'll save a lot of money by just, if it's like an interactive map, for instance, I'd rather do that myself rather than paying someone,
Right.
$12,000.
But on the other hand,
whatever.
you're a very busy person, Daniel. So if you need the help,
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I'm already doing some of it, but I think that's where I'm like, it's like it'd be nice to know, kind of balance out what I'm doing with my time versus what am I coordinating with. In some cases, it adds more time to coordinate because you have to kind of build out your vision, and then in my method of working, it's a lot easier to build out the vision while you're building it because as things change, you can change them.
Sure.
Not that I want to do everything myself. I just
No.
I want to just add one thing while we're
Yeah.
compiling the list. There's back to school month in May. I'm wondering how that might coincide, or if there's a separate thing of a walk bike to school. So just kind of thinking about that too. And it was mentioned earlier on about getting into some of our local schools and doing education in those places. So that could be a good opportunity to have that on our calendars so that we could prepare and maybe be invited to do some educational pieces. And that could be in partnership with Bike Athens as well, or on our own.
Yeah. I know that Patty mentioned a bike walk count day where schools can participate and they can report their, number of kids who walk and bike. I'm kind of curious.
That's great. And what's neat about that is you
Yeah.
could kind of challenge the schools to have a little friendly competition with one another. Which elementary schools get the most participation, and could we use our funds for a prize, or I don't know, something like that. Middle schools competing. I mean, there are obviously some disadvantages. I mean, that was my big complaint about Clarke Middle. It's like almost impossible to get there on bicycle, but maybe for that day, people could try it, and they might beat BHL. Who knows? But.
Yeah.
As long as
There's
somebody gets hurt, I'm okay.
I'm gonna put this in chat. There's a walk and bike to school like movement. And it looks like there's a National Bike to School Day on May 4th.
Okay, so right, it does coincide with that. That's good to know that it coincides with that same month. So it's like kind of a kickoff really for that month.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think there's also a walk to school, international walk to school in October, it looks like.
Nice.
So
Daniel, would that be something that we would want to coordinate with the Safe Roads to School person?
honestly, this I don't really know enough about this program. It says find us on social media. It says that the let me see if this is even, this might not be Georgia. This is the University of North Carolina Highway Safety Research Center. They're the ones who manage that page. Let me look at their social media and see.
While Daniel's looking at that, something else that I thought about if that little competition thing is just sort of mulling around in my head is bus riders. I mean, that's also part of our objective is to encourage people to ride the bus, and so you get early bus riders, so they could count in that number if we wanted to, rather than parsing them out or like keeping them separate from those, because there are families that depend on those buses, and so they could count potentially in that. We'd have to figure that out. That's a detail type thing that we could parse out as
that's
we
a
get
hard
go along.
population to reach, Craig. It's kind of hard to when we've put things out for public comments. I mean, it's the bus riders.
I'm talking about public school bus riders.
Oh, public school bus. Oh,
yeah,
right.
I'm talking about the schools still.
Sorry.
I'm still thinking about schools. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we definitely I think there's a lot of opportunity on this committee to work with Safe Routes to Schools.
Mhm.
And it looks like Walk Bike to School is separate, but also they reference Safe Routes to Schools on here. So I'm sure they all work together. And there's like options to report things. I'm looking at their Facebook page now. It's interesting. There's 12 reviews. And there's 1,900 people following it.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, I might have just stumbled into like some local thing, but I know on here it does mention there's downloadable materials here. Help
Oh,
promote
super.
your event.
That could be something that we do, in the interim, is just like some research, as we find websites, just kind of share these websites and do a little research. Because I just think there's so many wonderful resources out there. Brainstorming sessions like this are great, and they sometimes frustrate me because I'm just like, we're reinventing the wheel that somebody has gone before us well before we started, It's, So, kind of finding some of those resources that are out there.
We don't want to reinvent any wheels. If the wheels are working,
Come
just
on,
fine.
Teresa, it's kind of fun, to reinvent the wheel.
Every single time.
Yeah, every single time. That's right.
So
let's maybe do this. Let's spend so the next month before our next meeting, we got about 12 minutes left here. So before our next meeting, our homework can be to find some of these things and compile them, probably in the drive. Teresa, if we just email the stuff to you, could you handle kind of collating it?
right.
Or if you share the drive, Teresa, we can upload it directly too. If you share the document, like a Google Doc or something like that.
It's our Google Drive, and I think everybody has access to it. So just upload away. So Craig, I hope you'll take the lead on the school stuff because that seems to be your area.
That's where my heart is. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a neat thing. It's and I do like tabling too. Believe it or not, at like some of the festivals that we have too. I like that. There's probably a bike to work thing too. I was thinking about that. There's bike to school, but there's bike walk to work too. And so how do we participate in that? Those are just sort of the things that we can piggyback on and really promote.
Absolutely.
Alternative transportation, not just bike walk, but it's also bus. Taking little vehicles off the road. Yeah.
Maybe someday.
Yeah. All right. What was next on your agenda, Teresa?
Oh, let's see if I can find it. Okay. All right, budget, and then next steps, really. So we're sort of like doing that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
So, I mean,
how frequently are we going to try to meet, Teresa? Are we going to try to meet monthly?
Well,
is that what it sounds like?
I think we should try to meet
every
monthly
other month?
if we can.
Okay.
If that's all right. I mean, if we need to meet more frequently, we can do that, but I don't see any need to do that. Do you?
No, I was thinking it could be every other month kind of thing. If we're working behind the scenes and kind of coordinating ad hoc, when stuff comes up. But,
Yeah.
I mean, that may be correct. I mean, maybe we could resume this in January if you wanted to, because we got the holidays and nobody does anything in the holidays.
I think something that's helpful for me with organizing the meetings is if we plan our next meeting at the end, and so and then that helps me get it. Otherwise, I'll go 6 months and I'll be like, "Do we have another committee?"
That's right. Yeah. And one thing too, Daniel, while I'm thinking about it, is that we Teresa, and I think I don't know, you might have been trying to do this too, but identifying who was on the committees and then sending the invite specifically to them. But we kind of said with Teresa, that it might be good just to send the invite to everybody, and that way
Right.
people can attend. There's those that are on the committees, but then there might be those that just want to attend or that sort of thing. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Totally.
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
we need as many brains as possible in this, you know, and sometimes people get these creative ideas and, you know, they don't know where to put them. We're going to give them a place.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we can meet bi-monthly, Craig. We don't need to meet every
I'm fine
month.
meeting in December. I mean, it's good maybe to kind of get 2 in a row just so as we get our feet back under us, and then sort of take it from there.
Okay.
But I'm fine meeting in December just to kind of, because it'll be early enough in the month, I think, before a lot of the stuff starts back. So.
Okay. All right.
And then,
Well, let's plan on
I mean, I don't want to
reconvening
speak
this.
for you, Blaine, but you know, maybe I just want to convey that I'm okay with it meeting next month. And then,
Yeah, I'm okay with it too. I'm with you, Craig, too. Like maybe we might be gaining a little bit of traction now. We don't want to stop and not meet for 2 months or something, you know.
Right.
But
Okay. So we'll meet it in December. And Daniel, you can, if this is a decent time for you all, we could just keep this time, or if there's a better time, it doesn't matter to me. I'm pretty flexible.
4:30 to 5:30 works for me. I am
Okay.
dropping off my daughter at gymnastics at 4:30, but I'm able to hear and then get to a place where I can be more settled. So.
Okay.
Awesome.
yeah, good for me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll tentatively say 4:30. I'll double check with Carly, because I know she had to get off. I'm not sure if that is an everyday kind of situation though. So I'll text her and find out. But 4:30 works better than 4, I am assuming. If you're dropping her off at
Unfortunately,
4:30.
yes, it does. Yeah, 4:30 works
Yeah.
better than 4. I'd like to. I wish
Okay.
it was earlier. I wish if it was a different day, I could do earlier. If it was like a Wednesday or a Monday, Wednesday or Friday, I could do earlier.
Mhm.
Anytime before 3:30, really, on Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay. I mean, I'm flexible. I'm totally fine with pretty much anything. I mean, Friday doesn't work for me, but every other day, yeah.
What about you, Blaine?
Later like this is good for me. Sometimes during the middle of the day, I don't know what's going to happen.
You got to be ready. That's right.
It's dictated by what's going on that particular day, or yeah, I do happen to walk in the morning. I kind of just refresh like what kind of fire are we going to put out today. Sometimes depending on where we are in this school year, but I can be pretty flexible. Usually, this is typically better for me. I mean, even today, I did the same thing, Craig. I picked my daughter up and came home and did this meeting from home, which is okay for me to do also. So, but I can try to be flexible during the day too. I definitely have time for it. It just depends on what. Sometimes who's yelling the loudest is what I have to kind of
Yeah.
but I do go ahead and block out parts of my day when we know ahead of time. So it definitely helps.
Okay. Well, we can check in with Randy, because Randy said that he could help with this, but he couldn't be available today. But we can check with Randy and Carly and just, you know, see if we can come up with a time that's pretty good for everybody.
For now, a
I'd say
month
just go
from
ahead and put it
today
next. Yeah,
would
Tuesday
be
at 4:30. Yeah.
yeah 7, the 7th, December 7th,
Okay.
at 4:30.
All right.
Pearl Harbor Day. I don't remember if that's like an actual holiday, but
No, it's not a holiday.
okay.
Yeah. And I don't have anything until 7:30 at night, so that works for me. 4 o'clock, 4:30, whatever.
Yeah.
Also, I noticed I was trying to figure out what the name of the actual committee is. I saw communications and outreach. I saw communications and education and communications.
All right. So let me tell you what it is. It's education and communications. That's what it is. I know, because we kind of went through an identity crisis. We weren't really sure what our name was, and we kept calling ourselves different things. So it was confusing to us too.
Totally.
But We're going to stick with education and communication.
Perfect. 4:30 to 5:30. We're gonna keep it virtual.
Yeah, I mean, that's
And
fine for now.
what I'll do is I'll go ahead and send it out to the whole listserv. And if y'all know anyone who's interested in getting involved outside of the commission, we do accept non-commission members on our committees. That's the main reason why I've been trying to track who's on what committee, because I know that we have some other, you know, whether it's staff or volunteers or other organizations who want to kind of get in on it. So yeah, this one I don't think we have any outside members for, so
What about Scott Long? Do you think he'd be interested?
I guess, is Scott on the listserv?
I don't know.
I'll check in with him to find out, because if he's not, then I need to figure out which committees, because yeah, I just realized I haven't seen him in a while. It might be because I'm not specifically inviting him.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, they have all these great educational programs and materials and things that they spread out, and they've got a good network. I mean, I think we really ought to
Absolutely.
link ourselves with them as much as they'll have us.
I did send an email to our public information office. And so I think I sent him the Facebook page that we currently have. I think there's a few pointers that he has, so I can run through those with you, Teresa.
Okay.
He said it's a really complex issue and there's not a great answer at the moment. So I wanted to make sure that because our organization Facebook pages all run through Public Information Office, and I was not sure whether or not our commissions are run through kind of the same way, because you know, if they are open to open records requests, then it's just all that kind of stuff. So I will get a better answer and get some more details. Carly has responded and she said 4:30 should be good. So
Okay. Super.
Tuesday, oh, she said Wednesday afternoons would be a little easier because Tuesday are usually when other meetings happen for like the other commission. Because Athens, I forgot, ORGC also has meetings on Tuesdays.
Okay.
So
Well, I just picked this Tuesday because tomorrow's a T-SPLOS meeting, and I knew I couldn't do that. So Wednesday's good. I don't have a problem with Wednesday. What about you,
do y'all
Craig?
want to do Wednesday the 8th, or you want to stick
Lane,
with Tuesday?
Is that good for you?
Fine. Excuse me.
Okay.
Are you good with that, Craig?
I have it's a little more complicated. But you know, if it was at, let's see, now we get into the whole what time.
Okay.
If I have to leave a little early, I might have to check out at like 5:15.
Okay.
But you know, like I said, I have a lot of flexibility during the day on Wednesday. So like,
Yeah.
if it was at 8 o'clock in the morning, you know, 8 to 9, or you know, anytime really, things get a little bit more complicated after 3:30. So yeah, Blaine, I hear what you're saying too. Like it's kind of blocking it off.
There's also Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday's fine. We can do Thursday. I mean, the only day that doesn't work great for me is Friday, because that's a regular thing I do on Friday afternoon.
So
yeah, Thursday could work.
okay.
4:30,
So
5:30.
for now, like, we don't need to make this a standard thing, but what we will do is that meeting will be the 9th, December 9th at 4:30 to 5:30.
Yeah, it should be good, Daniel.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Well, thanks, y'all.
All right.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah.
You
And
too,
I
Craig. Thanks
appreciate
so
y'all.
much.
joining up. I'm excited. Yeah, I guess
Thanks for
homework
getting
would
this
be
together.
like do some research on some like yearly events and advocacy months and which even just like holiday themed things and what kind of outreach materials do we want to have, and from there we can kind of match it up and schedule it out so that we have a more active social media presence.
Right. And reach out to Tool or whoever it is you have to reach out, because, I feel like some professional help would really be great. We don't have to shoot the moon or anything, but, just some guidance, a few nice little pieces that we could work with.
Yeah, I'll mention that, and and maybe not to double up homework, but if we look through the Athens in Motion plan and the marketing sections,
Yeah.
Mark, just see which ones you like and don't like, and then we can start to build almost like a catalog of materials. So
Right.
cool.
Okay. Good. I feel better
Great.
about this now.
All
All
right.
right. Well, thanks. Thanks, Blaine. Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Carly.
Thanks,
Daniel. Y'all take care.
guys. All right, you too.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.